Hey, Jeremy Metzger here with ICT. Step into the lab. In this video series, I'm going to talk about the router on a stick and static route topology. In this video, I'm going to talk about the router on a stick topology, run through that, describe how to create it, what it does, how to set it up. In the next video, I'm going to create another router on a stick topology, and then link the two together with a static route. I think that's going to be pretty fun. And then in the third video, I'm going to run over the whole process again from start to finish. We're going to have the configs up on the screen, and it's going to be a blast. So what is the router on a stick topology anyway? Well, this is the most basic network that you can build. It's a router connected to a switch connected to a PC. Now down here on the right, you can see a schematic representation of what this would look like. The tuna can there with the arrows pointing in and out, that's the standard symbol for a router. You're going to see these symbols over and over again in textbooks and videos and topologies, so it's important to get used to them. That shoebox there with the arrows kind of crossing each other going out is a switch. And then we just have a PC picture there for the computer. And these are connected via those green lines. Those are Ethernet cables. So here's what we're going to do. Today I'm going to drag out a topology on Cisco Packet Tracer. I'm going to connect those devices physically with Ethernet cables. I'm going to program those devices so that everybody knows where everybody's at. And then I'm going to execute a ping test to make sure that everything's up and running and all the commands are saved and communication can work just fine. Let's dive in. Okay, here I am in Cisco Packet Tracer. I'm going to go over to my router menu here and then go over to the Cisco 2911 router. I like to use this simply because I'm used to it. It's a blast. It has some higher level functions that I use more often, although any one of these devices should work for this basic configuration. So I'm going to take this, drag it up here, and set it down right about here. All right, then I'm going to go to my switch menu, click the switches, and select a 2960 switch. Again, any of these switches should work. All right. And leave it about right here underneath the router. And then I'm going to go to my End Devices menu. Click on that and select a generic PC and leave that guy right about here. Okay. Now we can see that we drug out a router, drug out a switch, and drug out a PC onto our blank topology. Now, can we communicate yet? Well, think about it like this. You built some houses. You built houses within a city, right? Think of the router, the switch, and the PC as separate houses, but you haven't paved any roads to them yet. They're there, but they're not connected by anything, so mail can't travel to them. So let's connect these houses with some roads. So I'm going to come here into Packet Tracer, and I'm going to select my connections menu, which it is already at. I'm going to click copper straight through Ethernet cable, which is your standard network cable. This is going to be what you use in your house and at your office to plug into the wall, the jack in the wall, for example. So I'm going to come up here to the router. Now we have several different port options here, but we're going to not worry about auxiliary and console right now. Don't worry about them. I'm going to connect to Gigabit Ethernet 00. Okay. This is going to be our gateway interface, which will make sense here in a second. So I'll connect it to Gigabit Ethernet 00 and then come down and click on the switch. Now in the switch you can see that we have many different options for connections here. We have some gigabit ports down here at the bottom, but then a bunch of these fast Ethernet ports. Well, here's the deal. This switch is designed to connect from a bunch of devices in your network. So computers, printers, IP phones, anything with an Ethernet port. can connect to this switch, and these will all get connected on fast Ethernet ports. Typically, these are connected to routers on a gigabit Ethernet port. Why? Well, here's the deal. Fast Ethernet ports convey information at the rate of 100 megabits per second. Gigabit Ethernet ports convey information at a gigabit per second. So which is faster? The gigabit Ethernet port. So we're going to connect it to that. Okay. Now we're going to come and click on the copper straight through cable once more. Click on the switch. I'm going to select Fast Ethernet 01 here. And then go down to the computer, where I will select my only option available. And there we go. So here we've connected a router to the switch to the PC. Okay, we've drug out these buildings, we built the buildings, and now we paved roads to them. Now, if you think about these devices as homes within a city, this is going to be your main drag right here between the router and the switch. This is your fast lane. Everybody's going to work. They're leaving their house, weaving through their neighborhood on a slower road, getting on the on-ramp to the main drag of the city where they're rushing to work, right? Each one of these connections here, this switch, as you saw, has 24 ports. This could hold 24 different devices connect to it. And each of those devices has communication running from the computer to the switch. But this connection here has all of that traffic going through it, which is why we wanted it to be faster. Okay? So we drug out a topology. We connected the devices. Now, will communication work? Well, since we have physically connected the devices, communication will absolutely not work yet. Why? Because no one knows where to go. You made the houses, you paved the streets, but you didn't give anyone an address yet. So we're going to get into the devices to program them. Okay, back in Cisco Packet Tracer, I'm going to start at our router. Think of this interface here as the city boundary. Okay, traffic is going to stop here. Well, we're not connected to anything else yet. If we were, we'd have to connect from this port to another one on the router. So I'm going to start by defining our boundary, and then that's going to make everything else make more sense later. So I'm going to click on the router, click on CLI, which stands for Command Line Interface. And in answer to this question, continue with configuration dialog, I'm going to type in no and click enter. Okay, click return to get started. Here I am in user executive mode, I believe this is called. It has this router with greater than symbol here. This mode is a very basic mode within Cisco. You can't really do much in it. So I'm going to go up one by typing in enable and clicking enter. Now I am in privileged mode. This will allow me to run show commands and do some other things. So it'll allow me to do more, but not enough to configure this topology yet. So now I'm going to type in configure terminal. And this brings me to global configuration mode. It's going to be your daddy mode, so to speak, right? The mode that you're going to be using most often for most of your commands, probably. So here I am in global configuration mode. Now I'm going to name this router, and the reason this is nice is because if you, like I have done it in the past, if you're SSH'd or remotely connected to 6 routers at a time, you want to know who you're in and what you're doing. So I'm going to type in host name router 1. Command is not necessary to make this topology work, but it's really handy. So here you can see to the right of this config in parentheses here, it's changed to router 1. So we have successfully named this device. Now I'm going to enter into interface configuration mode to get to the port that I plugged the Ethernet cable into. Remember what it was called? gig 00. So I'm going to type in interface gig 00. Okay, now I'm inside of that port and I can make changes to it. So I'm going to type in IP address 192.168.0.254, and I'm going to drag this out here so we can see what we're doing. Okay, space 255.255.255.0. Now what this is telling this port is, hey, I'm assigning you the IP address of 192.168.0.254 with the 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it right now. We will cover that in some later videos. But I'm assigning the IP address. So I'm going to click enter, and this was successful. Basically, if it doesn't yell at you, the operation is successful. Now, Cisco ports are down by default. So I have to type in no shutdown in order to turn this thing on. So I'm going to click enter, and we can read interface gigabit Ethernet 00 is changed state to up, right? Line protocol on interface gigabit Ethernet 00 changed to up. So operation successful. Now for the next part of programming this, we're going to exit from interface configuration mode. We're going to exit from global configuration mode back into privileged mode. Since we're kind of following a CCNA track here, I decided to do this in order to save the work, because in the CCNA exam you can't save your work from anywhere. There is a command that you can execute to save work from everywhere, but I'm going to type in copy run start, which is telling this router copy the running configuration to the startup configuration. All right, so short-term to long-term memory. I'm going to click enter. Destination file name startup config. I'm going to confirm this because that's correct. And it says building configuration. Okay. So we have successfully programmed this router. As you can see here, it changed from red to green, which means it's up. And then the little dot by the switch has turned from yellow to green, which means it's working properly. Now I'm going to go down to the computer. Click on that. Click on desktop. And then click on IP configuration. All right. For within Packet Tracer, we don't need to do any CLI configuration of IP addresses for a computer. We just fill in these default fields here. So I'm going to give this the IP address of 192.168.0.1, which happens to be the first available address within this network. I tabbed down to IP or subnet mask, and that filled it in with the correct subnet mask by default. We could change this if we needed to, but this is fine right now. I'm going to tab again down to default gateway, which I'm going to enter as 192.168.0.254, which, if you remember, is the address we put in for this interface on the router. So we're telling this, if you want to get out of the network, you have to go this way. You have to go up to your gateway. All right, city boundary, gateway to the city, got to go out that way. And for Cisco Packet Tracer, you just click exit and it automatically saves it. So we have put up our router, we drug out our switch, we inserted a PC, we paved roads to these houses, and we gave them addresses. So what's next? Well, we're going to ping test. This is a test where we send information from one device to another. I'm going to start at the computer. We're going to go up through the switch to the router, and then the router is going to say, hey, I got mail. I'm going to send a reply. And it's going to reply to that PC. Now this is going to verify all the connections are good, the configurations are saved, all of this stuff has worked properly. Okay? So I'm going to go click on the PC. I am under desktop. I'm going to click on Command Prompt. Within Command Prompt, I'm going to type a very simple command, ping a destination interface. So 192.168.0.254, which is my gateway. I'm going to click Enter. Now you can see that it says pinging 192.168.0.254, reply from destination address. I'll pull this out again. This is good. 4 pings have been sent, and the router replied to each one, which verifies that the system is working properly all the way throughout. Okay, thank you for watching. In the next video, we are going to make another router on a stick topology and then connect the two with a static route. This is really fun. Make sure to check out our website for more videos, check out my LinkedIn page, and check out our Facebook page. See you all in the next video.